My name's Jill Rowe, and in this episode of the Different Podcast, I talk with Steve Chalke about finding the joy, sharing the words of a friend who's described joy as basic to us as oxygen. We discuss where we find joy and the way we cultivate being joyful in life. We seek to understand the difference it can make to us personally and also in our relationships. And we go right back to basics when we recognise that joy exists in the most unexpected moments and places. Gratitude is the seedbed for joy. Steve, we're back again. Another episode.
Absolutely. The sequel to the last sequel to the last sequel to the last sequel.
Today we're going to talk about finding joy. So being joyful,
being
finding
joyous.
Joy. Yeah.
And so the big question from me to you, Jill, is what brings you joy?
Loads of things.
Yeah.
So I find
the greatest joy.
Interactions with people. I find huge joy in... Well, some of your grandkids. Well, no, all of your grandkids, not some of your grandkids. Some of them.
By the way, everybody,
I didn't mean that.
I've got 10, so there's a lot of grandchildren to interact with.
All of them. Like, they bring joy. Like, you can't not be joyful, even if they're crying. Like, you know, so people are a source of great joy to me. Yes. And what really, like, I sharpen my focus in is on all the things that are kind of curiously unique that people are and do. And in my work, the thing that I get greatest joy from, I would say, is when I am helping other people to learn and discover how to grow and transform in their lives.
And so when you talk about joy, how would you describe it, though? When you say, I feel joy, what does it feel like?
Yeah, so joy for me is a sense of peace and presence. So I'm like in the moment. When I feel joy...
You feel...
Like it's
relaxed.
So I'm relaxed. I am totally in the moment. And somehow being in that moment brings like this sense of life.
You're not worried about the past or the future.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So those exist, the past and the future all exist, and they may have all their complications and all their challenge and all the rest of it. But there is joy in the moment, and then gratitude for that moment greatens the joy.
Wow. Yeah, that's
good. How I make sense of it.
Yeah, that's very good. That is really good. That makes me think, because I was going to say, you know, the reason I asked you the question, what brings you the greatest joy, is because I wanted to know. And as you gave your answer, I thought, well, that doesn't do it for me. Kind of thing.
What, that your grandchildren don't bring you joy?
No. But as you explained it, I think that the whole thing's connected up.
Yeah,
I really
of course
do.
It is.
But what I would say, my automatic answer to that question, the what brings you the greatest joy question, before you explained all the other stuff that fitted behind it, including the stuff about my grandchildren, is the thing that brings me greatest joy, honestly, is progress. Which I know you find, oh, blimey, he's weird. No, progress, achievement, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't mean for me, just progress, you know, a progress that others make, achievement that others have, and the feeling that I helped somebody along the way. You know, I can sit there and relax, I suppose, because it makes me smile to see that person doing really well.
So what happens to your joy if there isn't any progress, or it's very slow progress?
It disappears rapidly and it's replaced by angst. So yesterday we were both at this event at the church. At Oasis Church in Waterloo. And, you know, there's someone taking part, you know, and speaking up, and the whole crowd there loved this person and what they were saying. And I sat there and I felt total joy for him.
Yeah.
I felt overwhelmed with joy.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's what I mean by achievement. That's what I mean about progress.
Yeah.
Because I thought, as it is, I'd introduced that person and I could see that everybody's love for him and response to him was progress for him, And so I think that's an achievement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get it, but I wonder, like, if there but if there isn't progress, like, what are you just really miserable?
No, I'm yearning for more than I'm frustrated about it. But it plays into everything you said about relationship and connection and all of that kind of stuff. I could see that. So last week I went to the city of Manchester to speak at an Oasis event. Mm-hmm. The conference was absolutely fantastic. They'd asked me to speak at it at the end, So I went along and it was brilliant. I mean, it was just brilliant. I sat there all morning. It lasted all morning on, and finished with a lunch. And honestly, I was just like overwhelmed with joy. I had these thoughts. I thought to myself, I could die happy, right? Yeah. I could speak. I was so happy. And I was happy because I saw the achievement and the progress. And you mentioned Hannah. She leads this particular team. And honestly, I cannot tell you how good they all were and how deep their insights were and how they were sharing what they knew with all sorts of other agencies around Manchester, and everyone was joining in together, etc., etc., etc. And I remember back all the years when I first went and tried to get something. It wasn't even that thing. It was the thing before the thing, before the thing, before the probably. So trying to get that thing going, and what a battle it was to get it going. In fact, that I used to drive to Manchester once a month, leave early in the morning. I used to leave about 6 o'clock in the morning, drive all the way to Manchester, spend a day with people in Manchester, drive all the way home. It was like miserable, all these long journeys on the motorway, the M6, the M1 and all the rest of it. Such early starts, such late finishes. But there was my sense of that's why I say achievement, progress, etc., etc. And it's not to do with me. It's like, wow, you're brilliant. And the joy I get is that it's worked.
Yeah. So you're celebrating other people, aren't you? But so I'm going to keep pushing you on this, because what happens if there isn't progress? Does that mean there is no joy? So let me explain. As we've talked about before, I was in hospital earlier in the year and I found joy. There was no progress. I wasn't celebrating progress because there was no progress. What I was trying to do was find joy in the ordinary. So I think there's an invitation to joy in the midst of anything and everything that's going on. And sometimes that's in the progress that people make. And sometimes it's in the interactions we have with, nieces and nephews and godchildren, and sometimes it's in the, I can't even move, but that brilliant person has just asked if I want a cup of tea. And that in that moment, I'm going to find that joy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does. Well, and I'd say, because, came to see you.
You did, looking rough.
Yeah, but, from my point, it was progress. You were in the hospital. Do you remember?
Rather than dead.
Yeah, rather than sitting at home. You know how ill you were before you ever ended up in the hospital.
I was even worse in the hospital.
Yeah, so, and I knew that you were being cared for and, et cetera, et cetera. So I totally get what you're saying, Jill. I honestly do, and I believe it. I believe it, and there is that. Honestly, I understand it and I experience it, and it's part of me. But I just do love to see someone thrive, and of course, you're not in hospital anymore, and you're back here and all that. Yeah. And I love all of that. What I do agree, I agree. But I do see. I kind of think that I heard someone speaking a few months ago, and what they said brought me a lot of joy, because what they said was, I can't even remember where it was, but they said the most unexpected thing. They said, the problem with people like me not me, them. They were talking about them, is I love achieving things and seeing things happen in line with my vision, their vision and what they're about. And they said, so I'm surrounded by people that tell me to just relax and chill out and have joy in the moment and all that. And they said, and I've just learned I can't. They said, I've just learned that's wonderful for them, but I am who I am, and I have to live with this sense of angst inside me because that has become, actually, I've recognised more, they were telling their story, I spent so long trying not to be me, and I've learned that anxiousness inside me is the thing that fuels the progress. And does this make any sense to you? It was like a huge release to me because I suddenly thought, it's okay. It's okay to have this thing. So I love rejoicing. There's nothing that makes me more happy for instance, than to walk into an Oasis community of one type or the other and just see everybody happy. And I don't need to be part of it. I'm not asking for anything, just to see them.
Absolutely.
And then I feel, wow. And that brings me proper joy. Yeah.
It's gratitude, Steve, isn't it, for what people are experiencing in the moment, that something has shifted and something has changed for them. I think my question, and I'm just curious about it, is people can want to pursue happiness, can't they? Like, I just want to be happy. Mm. I just don't think life is that breeze. I don't think that. But I think joy can be found if we think about it as a sense of centeredness or connection, belonging, a rootedness, that in every moment, I just wonder how different life might be for people if instead of it being about the pursuit of stuff we don't have, it's the celebration of everything that is right in front of us.
Yes.
Relationships, daisies growing through cracks in the pavement.
I know all of that.
Sunrises, all the things, because I just wonder if, this is a giant leap, but some of the big stuff that becomes, geopolitics and all the rest of it, I'm like, what happened to people that they stopped or weren't ever able to just connect to people around them and find the joy, and now have to pursue life in a very different way, thinking that something quite bizarre is going to bring them happiness?
I do get all of that. And I think that for me, therefore, I'm constantly celebrating the joy in the struggle. And the struggle and the joy are interwoven and intermixed all the time. So I see little slices of joy, even in the pain. That on Monday last week, I think this was Friday, so the conference in Manchester must have been on Thursday, because on Friday I led the funeral service of somebody that I've known and loved for the last 21 years. Her name's Cynthia, and just 15 months ago, I led the funeral service of her husband, Azariah. And there I was with the whole family, their 4 sons and the wider family of that. And I'm with them in their grief. But I'm remembering the joy of the wonderful, beautiful person that was Cynthia. Because she really was wonderful and really beautiful. So that's what I mean about these things are all mixed up. And I led this funeral, and then there was a wake afterwards with a meal, and we had curried goat. Wow, what joy is that, I tell you. Right? What curried
And I bet
goat.
everyone told stories, right?
Because, it's a Jamaican speciality. And, and everybody told stories, and I sat with their sons, and they were weeping, and they were happy. And, one of the sons who'd looked after his mum, I just sat with them, and I just said, I won't say his name, but I said, do you know, I have learned over these last couple of years so much from you. I mean, he'd given up everything to look after his mum. And that was pain. And he talked about how hard it was. But he discovered joy in it.
Yeah.
In the pain.
Yeah.
And I had learned about being human from him.
Yeah.
So all of those things. And that's what I mean. It's
exactly.
So for me, joy and pain they're all mixed up together. And what I have learned is this: when there's something to be joyful about,
you go for it, Steve.
Celebrate it in the moment, crack open the champagne or whatever it is, or
absolutely.
The Christmas crackers or let off the fireworks or whatever it is you do,
Exactly.
In that moment.
Yeah.
And does this make any sense? Because in my job, the joy of what's happening at, 20 past 12 when you get an email or a phone call can be totally displaced by the agony of what's happening by 20 to 1, because it comes thick and fast.
Yeah.
Great breakthroughs and the terrible blows, they go on all day, every day, as they have done today, to be honest. So celebrate it now. Yeah. Don't wait till tonight.
Yeah. And I think that's to my point as well, that to not allow joy to just be found in achievement.
No.
It is in the everything, isn't it? And I remember going. We went on a trip. This is years ago, Steve. There was a few of us. I think it was the international conference, and we were in Mumbai. With loads of Oasis family had joined together in Mumbai, and I remember going to visit a school and health project we were running as Oasis. Absolutely brilliant. And there was a whole load of kids in the classroom, and one girl was bigger than the others, and she caught my eye, and in the bag I'd got some of those love heart swizzles. Love hearts were sticking out of my bag, and she spotted them, and then she asked the Oasis India staff member if we could go and visit her family, and they lived in this slum. It was a slum area, and we were like, yeah, sure, of course. I think she just wanted sweets. But anyway, she ran on ahead and we followed. And then we got to where their dwelling, where they were living. And it was really dark inside and it was really small. And the mum and dad seemed way older than they should have been for the age of this little girl. And the mum offered us some drink, and we knew that we couldn't have the water because it would have made us very ill. And so she found some money and sent her little girl off to get sodas for us and all the rest of it. And the dad was he was very, very thin, and he was lying on a bed in the corner. It was really dark in this little space, but it was a lovely family home. And I just couldn't work out the age thing. So I asked the staff member, how's this work? And they had found the little girl. She'd been thrown out. She was on the rubbish heap as a baby, and they'd taken her in. And they had he was dying. He wasn't well at all, and she was very old. But the joy that was in that environment was unbelievable. The delight that they had in this little girl who they'd taken in to look after, to raise her. The joy at just they seemed bizarrely pleased to have us there to talk to. And it was one of those moments you go, oh yeah, no, look, there's this joy thing in the midst of what looked on the outside as like just a really hard existence, and was a hard existence. And yet there was this richness of joy in that.
Joy in the relationships.
Yes.
Which is the thing, which is always the thing, isn't it? So back to my awful answer of finding joy in achievement. So underneath it, genuinely, it is, the real joy is in the achievement that's created community for these people, or created jobs for these people, or created relationships for this group, created belonging for this group. And genuinely, I don't feel ever the need to even be part of it, just to be able to see it.
Yeah.
You know, that's enough for me. It's relationships, which brings me back to my 10 little grandchildren, as you say, because if there's ever anything that does distract me from everything else and what, what I'm supposed to be chasing and doing, all the rest, it's them. It's very hard to ignore them. You don't want to. You're not trying to, are you? So I then actually what
they
happens
adore
is,
you.
Yeah, and I abandon everything I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
so
goodness.
They come to see me, and I've got all these deadlines of things I'm supposed to do on Saturday for Sunday morning or Monday morning, and I know I've got some big writing things to do and all that, and I abandon the stuff, and I just play with them and go and play football with them, and I'll watch football with them, and I'm doing all those things, as I will do this Saturday, and then Phil, I'm in trouble because I've not made any progress on the 6 big papers I was told that I've got to prepare this weekend or edit or whatever.
But there you know what?
It's the
Yeah. Do you know what?
No, I do know what, and I do know that it's got to keep your priorities straight, and my job is to invest in the lives of those 10 little people whom I love more than I can say. Yeah. But I like people generally. I really.
But they're pretty special.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They are special. But it is people in the end.
It is people.
That's why my joy is in progress, because it's the progress for the people. Yeah. So the thing is, Jill, my grandchildren, my children,
and your kids,
don't have to wait. Yeah, don't have to be a grandchild. They are a perfect, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful distraction from everything. I sometimes regret that they've been so much of a distraction when someone complains that I've not delivered the piece of work that I should have done. But no, the truth is, it's all about relationships. It's about the simplicity of things.
Absolutely.
That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's not about, you don't care about stuff,
no.
Do you? I really don't, to be honest.
No.
But I do care about people, and I'm grateful for that, because I don't think that was always the case for me. I think there was once a time when I cared if the car I was driving was a good one or a bad one, or where it squeaked or didn't squeak or whatever. And I don't care about any of those things. I really don't. I'm not saying that. I don't, because I think I've come to a better place. I'm not claiming anything much for myself, but I've learned that people and relationships and building community for others to enjoy is the way forward.
Yeah. There's this thing, isn't there, Steve, about playfulness. We need to be playful in life, and curiosity, celebration, all the things that you've talked about are what get us there. There's this great video, I'm sure, there's various versions of this, but there's this brilliant video of, I don't know, it's probably some cosmetics firm or something was filming some adults, and just asking them a really simple question, like, if you could change one thing about your body, what would it be? And the adults were like, well, my ears stick out, or I'd have a 6-pack, or
bigger boobs, smaller boobs,
change my nose, like all of those kind of things. And they were all like, you could tell they were really unhappy with who they were. They asked exactly the same question of the kids, a whole load of kids, and the kids were going, I would have wings. And I would have like springs in my feet so I could jump really high. And it was just like this completely different view of who they were. And it was all this joy and playfulness and imagination. And I feel like that's what's caught up in all that. When you're with your grandkids or your kids or whatever, or when I'm with any of my, great nieces and nephews and all the godchildren and all the rest of it, you do lose everything else, don't you? Because it's about that moment. It's about who they are in that moment and your relatedness to them.
It is.
Joy.
I was talking to a young person in an Oasis school at some length, actually. And then they happened to say to me, after we'd been talking for about half an hour, and they happened to say to me, so what's the thing you're most proud of? And, the truth was, I said, it's you. And it was actually true. I just spent this wonderful half hour listening to this young person and all their dreams and aspirations and the things that they were doing, etc., etc. And they were my greatest joy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thankful for, because I think I've come on a long journey to that place.
Yeah.
I don't think it's natural for somebody who's screwed up as me. but I finally got there. Woohoo!
So a friend of ours said that joy is as basic as oxygen for us. That's what we need. Keep finding the joy, Steve.
That's the way to go, Jill.